Hi everyone, good morning. So for today's video, I'm just going to be playing with makeup. So I'm going to be putting on a full face, mainly because I have had a very easy 2 weeks. So I have not been very busy and I kind of miss putting on like a full glam of makeup on. And also one other thing, I actually went to the store. I went to Uniqlo the other week and I bought myself this nice pair of lavender lilac-y colored pants. This is actually from the women's section. That's where I buy my pants from because they fit me very nicely. And I love the color of the pants. And a week after, I went back because there's a Uniqlo here, like outside of my village, in the department store here. And all of a sudden, all of the displays that I see are of lilac colored shirts, lavender colored shirts, some light violet-y colors. I go like, I kind of like that. So I decided like, okay, so let me try to create a makeup look based on that. And also one other thing, I actually got a lipstick from the clearance store, and I have been looking for that color for a very long time, and I'm just so glad I found it. So I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later in the video. So for now, let's proceed with the makeup. And all of my skincare is already on my skin, and everything that I've used on myself today is listed down on the description box. Okay, so let's begin. Alright, so for my foundation today, I'm going to be using these two colors from the Estee Lauder Double Wear foundation. And the reason why I'm using this today is because there was someone in my comments who asked me how to use Estee Lauder Double Wear products. That I mean the foundation properly. And so I'm just gonna give you a hint of things that I have observed while using this foundation, especially if you're someone who has very textured skin. I don't feel that the Estee Lauder Double Wear actually covers, creates a very full coverage on the skin, but it's like substantial enough. And what I like to do is actually I use this Sonia G brush, and I apply it in one direction on the face. And the main reason why is because I find that it's actually easier for me to create coverage while doing that, and also preventing texture from further happening. Because if you have textured skin, like example, the texture on my skin is just always my beard, and I don't find the necessity of actually covering it into full coverage kind of a thing, because that's just way too much effort. And as you guys can see here, I am just going to town with this foundation, but I am just applying it in one direction, and I am not doing like a buffing circular motion, especially if I'm working with someone who has textured skin, because you are just going to increase the texture when you're doing that. And do not take your time with this foundation, because I have noticed that with the Estee Lauder Double Wear foundation is that they have they have a sweet spot wherein you're actually able to blend out and layer the product properly, because there's a time when it starts to set, and then it becomes this very tacky nature wherein it starts to cling onto the skin. And when that already starts to happen, when it starts to set, and then you use a beauty blender, or even a brush, you lift the product. So when it starts to feel tacky on your skin, and I'm sure you can feel it with the brush already, I can feel I'm not pressing the brush on my skin, but I can feel the tackiness already, so it's already starting to set. So I try not to add any more layers of foundation. I try not to press either the brush or the beauty blender, because lifting will happen. Now, it's still possible to layer this foundation on top of each other. Just make sure that it's already dry, but just approach this with caution. But if you're someone who has much more textured skin than I do, you need a cream foundation, not a liquid foundation such as the Estee Lauder Double Wear. So you have something thicker and emollient, and when you're applying it, again, in one direction. Okay, so now at this point, I'm just going back and using this very fluffy synthetic brush, and with whatever foundation is left here on my palette, I'm just going to apply it in some parts where the big brush actually missed it. And it's always, in this hard to reach areas, like the corners of the mouth, around the nose, things like that. And the reason why I'm using these two colors is because, Estee Lauder Double Wear foundations here are not stock up like in full with their full range, and my color is not available. So I find that mixing these two colors, rattan and shell beige, it kind of gives me this very nice neutral base, and also it gives me that beigey tone that I need for my skin. And the rattan, it's a nice olive tone color that really works well with my undertone, and it's kind of working for me right now. Okay, and also one other thing, I'm using a bit of artificial light for us today because it's a little bit cloudy, so the sun is disappearing with the clouds. So I just hope that we have this very nice even lighting going on. Okay, so I'm just adding a very small layer on top of my blemish here with the foundation just to cover it a teeny tiny bit, and I also have one here. Now sometimes if I'm in a hurry and I want this to set in no time, I use my Dyson Airwrap, and I use the cold button switch for that, and then I just blast my face with a little bit of some cool air just to really set this down. Now my other observation with the double wear foundation here, it really doesn't last long. Maybe in Europe or in America it does, because your air there is not humid, and sometimes it's not as warm as it is here in the tropics. So mind you, if you wear this beside a river under the heat of the sun, it will start breaking down. So I'm just putting it out there. So our experience with this foundation will always vary, but it's one of my most favorite foundations to use ever. Okay, so now I'm going to be applying some concealer. Just going to concentrate that here and here. I don't really need much coverage in my under eye area, but a little bit of some brightening will be very helpful for us. Okay, and I'm just going to spread the product using this jumbo concealer brush from Sonia G. Now I'm just using a patting motion when I'm blending out the concealer. I'm not necessarily dragging it out too much because I don't want to disturb the foundation that I applied earlier. Although I avoided adding some full coverage foundation there because I don't want it to look cakey for us today. Because on a personal note, I don't like using really full coverage types of foundation because I find that it's just way too much, and I don't really need it. I prefer to have a very light wash of foundation if ever I wear one during the day. Alright, so that's my concealer down. I'm quite happy with that. And now I'm going to set my face with some powder foundation, but very lightly. And I'm going to be using the Chikuhodo MK brush for us today because it's going to be perfect for the season, because after all, the plum blossoms are starting to bloom. So this is actually a squirrel brush head. So this will not pick up a ton of the powder foundation, but it'll just add a nice hint of coverage. And this also helps to set my foundation. And the reason why I'm also prefer to use this brush with us today is because it's very light and very airy, and it's very, very soft. So this will just not really disturb the Estee Lauder Double Wear foundation that I applied earlier. And also one other thing, if you have a ton of texture on your skin, sometimes adding a hint of powder foundation on top of everything can really help to bring down the texture. And if you want to add more coverage to cover your texture, you have to use a thicker brush, either Sonia G Buffer Pro. You just pick up the product and then you really press it in the area where you want to have more coverage. Or one other brush that you can use is the Chikuhodo PF4 brush. So this is a puff brush, and you can just really pick up a ton of product with this, and you can just really use it. As you guys can see how much product it actually applies in the area where you want to have more coverage. And it really adds a very strong matte application of color on the face. So that's one thing that you can consider to use if you want to apply more powder foundation in the area where you want to cover your texture. Okay, so I'm gonna stop that because I do not want actually to have a ton of coverage for us today. So I'm going back to the Chikuhodo MK brush here, and I'm just adding a very thin layer of powder foundation all over. And with a Hinoki brush, I'm gonna pick up a minute amount of the foundation powder, and that's what I'm going to use to set my under eye area. And now for the eyes. Okay, so as a base, I have a Laura Mercier caviar stick here, and this is in the color Orchid. And this is a very nice violet-y, like, lilac-y tone to it. And what I like about this is that it already has like a lot of this, like lilac-y glitters that you can see happening right now. And I find this to be a nice, color to use, especially on skin like mine, because my skin has yellow tones in it, and also my eyes is brown, so brown has yellow tones in it. These colors are complementary to each other, so they really help to make each other pop out. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just being very careful with how I apply the product using the caviar stick. And I'm already mapping out my eye shape with this. And I'm just building coverage and intensity. And just like that, as you guys can see, it's giving my eyes a very nice, awake kind of a look already. It's giving a lot of life and light, and also a lot of reflectivity going on in my eyelid. Okay, so now I have this synthetic blending brush from Units, and I'm just very gently buffing out the edge of my eyeshadow application here, trying to see if this will really help with my shape. And I'm not overdoing it. I'm not over buffing the eye, because we can see again we have a lot of glitters here, and if I buff out that area, all the glitters are going to start flying out, and we do not want that, because that's going to add a lot of fallout here on my cheeks. Okay, so I'm just going a little bit beyond now my socket line, just so that it's gonna give me some soft definition there. Now for my eye look, what I plan to do, I'm not gonna create a very smoky eye look, but I want to create a very nice soft kind of an eyeshadow look, which is maybe perfect for the season, because in the US or in Europe it's starting to become spring-like. So this is going to be a nice look for the season, and I think this will also be perfect for a nice Valentine's Day outlook. Okay, and to add more dimension to the eyes, I'm going to be picking up this color here, and I'm just picking up some of the product at the tip of the brush head here. So as you guys can see, this is where I loaded the color. So it's near to the point where it tapers in this brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the brush over, and I'm just going to lay that here along my socket line, and I'm going to just buff the edges with this, and this will just help to create a nice softer look there. And it's also going to remove any harsh edges. And the reason why I'm holding it this way is because I do not want to mute down the shimmers that we see here in the middle of my eyelid from the caviar stick. So laying it this way, the taper anchors into my socket line, and it just helps to blend out the edges, which is something that I really wanted to do right now. Okay, and that's it. Brightens up everything. Alright, so now I want to add some soft definition into the eye, and I'm going to be using this Lilac Tweed in Tweed Brunette Rose. And as I don't know if you've seen my review for this collection, but Brunette Rose was one of the palettes that I didn't like to use on myself because I found it too gray. But I also said in that video that if I use this with another color, it will work with me. So that's what I'm going to be showing you guys today. First, I'm going to pick up this lightest neutral grayish color here with this brush, and I'm just going to remove a little bit of the excess at the back of my hand, and I'm just going to run this across my socket line. So what this is doing is that the gray tones of that eyeshadow color from Chanel is just going to deepen the lilac purplish violet-y tones of this eyeshadow, and it's going to give me a nice soft definition on my eyes, and I'm sure you can see that happening already. So I'm just being very light-handed with my application, and I'm also being very light with my brush strokes. And I'm just following the natural contour of my socket line here. And as you guys can see, I'm just brushing it along the edges of my socket line, because this will also really help to add some soft definition into my eyelid and also helping me look more awake. So as you guys can see, that's already happening because there's already some definition happening here. So it's already creating a nice lift. Okay, let me blend that outward and upward. Perfect. Very nice and very sweet. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna pick up the slightly deeper shade now on this palette. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that here in the outer portion, concentrating the color there. Just to intensify that area and just to help really create a much more defined look in the outer portion of my eye so that it really creates a lift. Again, I'm just being very light-handed with my eyeshadow application, nothing too stark, nothing too overly, applied. Keeping it very, very soft, because after all, we want a nice soft eyeshadow look that will work with the season. Okay, so now let's add some eyeliner. So I have this ColourPop Creme Gel Eyeliner, and this is in the color Piggy Bank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a very thin hint of this color all over my upper lash line. Not very thick, just enough to give a nice hint of color there. And let me get a blending brush. Hang on. Okay, here it is. And let me just buff out the edges of that. Okay, let me just add a very gentle, lift there. It's not going to be overly dramatic, but just very gentle, just to help to create that lift. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm finding the eyeliner to be a little bit too warm for me, so it's more violet than purple. So what I'm going to do is I have this blue toned eyeliner. So this is in the color DTLA, so Downtown LA, I think, and it has a very bluish tone to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer this on top of that gel eyeliner that I applied earlier. So the cool tones of this eyeliner will just, tone down the redness of the eyeliner that I applied before. And the reason why I'm doing that is because sometimes it's making my eyes look a little bit thick, although I do love the color, but I just want to apply a nice cool tone there. Not necessarily the color black, so that it's not going to be too stark of a color, and also it's gonna bring down the pink eye kind of a look. Okay, I'm also gonna apply some of that here into the inner portion of my eye, just to help really elongate the eye. And let me get the blending brush or the smudge brush that I used earlier, and let me just blend those two colors together. Alright, great, but I'm seeing some fallout from the gel eyeliner, which is always the case, so I'm just going to get the brush that I used earlier for the powder foundation, and I'm just gonna flick away all of those fallout. Okay, so now let's apply some mascara, and I'm going to be using the Falsies Lash Lip from Maybelline. I actually enjoyed using this mascara the first time I tried it out, and this will just add a very nice volume and lift into the eye. And I don't have plans of using false eyelashes with us today, but then again, I already have very curved, and my lashes are naturally very long, and using a mascara like this, it just really helps to create more volume and lift into my eyes, as you guys can see. Look at that. How cool is that? And the reason why I'm not using any falsies today is because my lashes and this mascara will create the lift that I want. It's also helped to emphasize and create a very nice shadowy effect on my eyes, but it's not going to diminish the lilac-y purplish colors of my eyeshadow today. So basically that's it for my eye. I do not want to apply any color in my under eye area because I want to create this very lifted kind of a look. So of course you can build up into a much more smokier look if you want to, but for me today I'm gonna keep it this way. So at this portion I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna finish the other eye and then I'm gonna come back. Okay, so that's my mascara down. Is it balanced? Hang on, let me add some more here and maybe here. Very nice and very soft. It has like a very nice, like, 60s, 70s kind of a vibe to it, which I really like. And now I'm gonna get this limited edition caviar stick. This was from the holiday release of Laura Mercier, and this is in the color Kiss from a Rose. And I'm just gonna apply that here into the inner corner of my eyes, because this will just really add some drama there, and this will like really fully help open up my eyes. And this is a very nice lavenderish kind of a shade, with a hint of pink. So it's gonna go well tonally with the look that I am going for today. Okay, now so let me just breeze through my brows. So I'm just going to be very light-handed with it, nothing overly done, and I'm going to be using this very nice grayish brow pencil first to outline my my brows. And I'm just going to be filling in some of the gaps here. So I'm just outlining my brows first. And if I like what I see, I get a much more deeper shade of a brow pen. So this one is in black, and I'm just going to use this to fill in some of the gaps in my brows. Of course, I'm not going to overdo it because my brows are already quite full to begin with. But just to fill in some gaps, try to create balance, and also some depth, just so that it frames my eyes quite nicely. Okay, I'm just brushing it into place. I like that, very natural looking. Okay, now I'm going to do the other brow now. So I'm just bringing my brow hair down, because that way I can see where my gaps actually are. And let me just fill in everything. Now the reason why I'm using this grayish eyebrow pen first is because it kind of like mimics how shadow looks, and it just really helps to create a very soft outline of my brows, especially if I don't want to overdo my brows. But this will just really fill in the gaps and help me create the outline that I need. Now I don't really stress out over my brows. I don't want to make them super balanced, especially with the fact that I injured my other brow when I was a kid. So I just try to follow its natural course, because that's what looks more natural to me, and people know me with my eyebrow scar. So I don't really have to cover that up, because it's part of who I am. It's kind of like my trademark already. Now I'm gonna be using this brow gel, this fiber brow gel from Hourglass that I got recently, and I love it. So especially if I just want to soften the color of my brows a bit, not make it too stark. And I love the brush that comes with a wand here. It really gets between your brow hairs, and it also really helps to shape your brows. I love this. I'm so glad I found it. Okay, so my brows and my eyes are practically done. So now what I want to do is I'm gonna go on to cheeks, and I'm looking to be a little bit dewy already, so I'm gonna pick up a tiny hint of the powder foundation again with the brush, and I'm just going to minimize that a bit, and it's going to apply a nice layer of powder on my cheeks, so that the blush color that I'm going to use is going to glide effortlessly on my cheeks. And the blush color that I want to use is this color from the Universe Unlocked palette of Hourglass. I really love the orangey tones on it. So with a mini Kiyaki buffer, I'm just going to pick up a hint of this color, and I'm gonna add that here onto my cheeks. And I'm gonna build the color slowly. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because, like, lavenders and oranges are complementary colors. So this will work well for us today because it's just going to help, like, the eyeshadow color pop. And also because this is an hourglass blush, so it's going to be a little bit soft focus as well. And it's also going to be, like, a little bit radiant. So again, I'm just building the intensity. And I'm doing it slowly. Ooh, I like that already. It's giving a very nice, like, spring vibe into my face right now. Very soft and very fresh looking. Okay, and let me add that here on the other cheek. So I'm just tapping in the color. And by concentrating the color application on the highest points of my cheeks, this will just really help to open up my under eye area. And it's going to keep it bright as well. And I'm going to buff it a little bit close to my eyes now. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm bringing the color closer into my eyes so that the contrast will just, like, really help. Alright, so that's the blush for today, and later after the lipstick, when everything is done, I'm gonna go back to it and see if, like, I'm gonna add more. So now let's go on to lips, and this is also one of the main reasons why I was thinking of doing this, like, purplish, lavenderish, lilac-y kind of a look for us today, because I found this lipstick from MAC. I think this was part of their Botanica collection back in 2021. Now, I got this in a clearance sale, and like, I have been looking for this lipstick color for a very long time, because, like, can you see this? It's a very nice, like, lilac-y, lavendery, like, cool toned lipstick. And don't worry, this was actually made in August of 2021. So usually lipsticks have, like, a shelf life of 24 months. So I have a few months left to play around with this, so I don't mind having it very late in, like, the season, even after its release. But I have, as I've said, I have been looking for this lipstick color for a very long time. And look at that, look how brightening it is. Also, it's also very vintagey, very, like, it reminds you of, like, the 60s and the 70s to a certain degree. But oh, look at that, it's so pretty, and I think it's gonna look perfect with this eyeshadow look with us today. So let's try this. Alright, so now with a brush, I'm just going to pick up a ton of the lipstick here and apply it generously on my lips. Okay, hang on, let me just get my spatula here and let me get a little bit of that, the tips. Then let me work from the spatula. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just gently lining my lips using this brush and filling in all of the gaps. Wow, look at that. Isn't that, it's so trippy. And I'm sure not everybody is gonna like this color. It's a very tricky color to wear, but I love this lipstick color, especially if you're just in the mood to be being playful with your look. But what I want to do now is I just want to add a very, like, hint of lip liner. So this is in a violet-y shade. And I'm just going to line my lips with this. And the reason why I'm doing this is because there's a hint of red on this lip liner. So it's more violet-y tone. So this will just add warmth into the lips. It's gonna make you not look dead, if you know what I mean. Hang on, I need a pencil sharpener. at that. So this is really like, a very nice statement lip. And if you have like, yellow tones in your skin, this is just gonna really complement your skin. And if you have deeper skin tones, this is going to look amazing on you as well. For people who have very fair skin, maybe I have to let's approach it with caution, because it can really like, make you look like you're dead, especially in the lip area, because it's a very cool toned lipstick. But I just really love this color, like, especially if you're someone who likes to make a statement of your makeup. And with this orangey blush, it just like, works well together. Statement lips, soft eyes, nice fresh blush color. Now, if you are finding that the lipstick is just way too much for you, go ahead and add like either a nice golden gloss on top of it. Look at that. Because after all, the lipstick was a matte lipstick, and this will just add some dimension into the lips, and also it will bring some warmth into the lip. Look at that. So pretty. I love it. I love the statement that it's giving the look for us today. And what I want to do now is I want to add a hint of warmth into the skin, and I'm going to be using my very favorite Guerlain Meteorites in Torre. And I'm going to be using, again, one of my favorite brushes ever. This is the MKSK brush from Chikuhodo. They released it last year. And the reason why I'm using this today is because I just want to add a very slight hint of warmth, so not overly so. And of course, because the cherry blossoms are going to be blooming in a few weeks, so this is also a nice seasonal type of brush to use at this time. And of course, because I don't want to add a ton of bronzer color, this brush will actually add a very nice hint of warmth without overly doing it. And because the Guerlain Meteorites is a finishing powder, this will just also add a nice luminescence into the skin, so that we just have this very nice soft focus, luminous kind of a makeup look for us today. I love the scent of this. So nice and so elegant, very floral. I love it. I really love this lipstick. Super. And I believe that's our look for today. What do you guys think? I know statement lips are quite difficult to pull off, especially if it's an off colors like this. But if you just have the strength in your character, and if you're just being very playful with your makeup look, this is a very nice color to actually use. What do you think? Look at that. So it's not your usual nude lipstick. It's not your usual pink, spring, early summer type of a makeup look. But I think it's a very nice, nod into the season, especially if you're someone who likes to wear your makeup in tandem with the season. And if you're finding the lip color is just way beyond your comfort, you can just add a very nice, violet-y type of a lip gloss on top of it just to bring it down, but I don't want to because I love the lip color that we are having at this time. Alright, so what I want to do is I just want to add a hint of gold into the center of my eyelid. So I have this limited edition Chanel Lilac Ombre Lac that I got a few seasons ago, and I'm just going to pick up a hint of that color using this very fluffy Visudo brush, and I'm just going to add a hint of that here in the middle of the eyelid, just to add dimension and also to add some warmth there, just for some contrast. I mean, you can't see it, but if you're looking with someone up close, there's going to be some golds there. So again, the yellow tones and the golden shimmer will work very well in contrasting and complementing the purple and lilac-y tones of your eyeshadow. Alright, so that's my look for today. What do you guys think? Do you approve? Do you disapprove? Put your comments down on the description box if you're someone who's willing to rock lip colors like this. All right, so that's it for me today. If you have any more questions about all of the products that I use today, all of the brushes that I use, please leave them down in the comments box and let's have a conversation about it. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna let you go now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you're having a good day wherever you are. Bye.